Yeah, I would say like a caterpillar into a butterfly, the circus is changing. The circus is certainly not dead.
A few weeks back, you may have seen the news segment about a circus camp at Maple Street School. Troy Wunderle, who runs the camp, sat down with me for a moment to talk about the life and death of the circus in today's world.
It is harder in the United States to find the classic circus experience, that huge canvas that has 3 to 5 rings and exotic animals from around the world, what P.T. Barnum would have toured with, what the Ringling Brothers would have toured with. They are still alive and thriving in Europe. They are still all over Asia. The sensitivity and the understanding of the value of the art of circus has changed in America. Circus has morphed over time. It has become a more theatrical activity, and you'll see beautiful productions from companies like Cirque du Soleil, which are massive organizations, down to really heartfelt productions by companies like Circus Smirkus. The one thing that is blossoming in America right now is the youth circus movement. There are youth circus programs all across the United States now, and it is really becoming something that more and more people are getting involved with.
The circus I was on had elephants and horses and dogs, and some were treated, I felt, better than others. And as we've decided in a lot of these places that we shouldn't have dancing bears or tigers or elephants on their hind legs, and I sort of agree with all that, but the funny thing is that sometimes I'll hear someone saying that shouldn't be, but then 2 minutes later it feels like they're showing me how they can make their dog dance on their hind legs. What's your take on this whole issue?
Well, I think it's very simple in one way. I think we as a society are accepting of the fact that many of us own dogs. I think we as a society also agree on the fact that you shouldn't abuse your dog. I think that's pretty simple. I think it's clear, and I think everyone would agree to that. I have a very similar feeling about these animals that I've toured with from all over the world. I have seen them treated incredibly well. In fact, better than any farm animal I've ever seen in Vermont. In the Ringling Brothers and Barnum Bailey Circus, as an example. If animals are treated well and there is a genuine relationship and love between animal and trainer, I have absolutely no problem personally with that becoming a partnership, a pairing, a friendship. If there's any abuse, if there is any misunderstanding of what that animal needs, I don't think it should be presented at all.
On another subject, so we're the second oldest state in the country, and on any given day we say we're running out of our children. Troy, what the hell are you doing here in Vermont? I mean, there's states that actually have a lot of kids still. So go ahead.
I'm a native Vermonter, and you couldn't pull me out of this state. I absolutely love it. Now, I do work out of the state, obviously. For 6 years with Ringling, I went all over the United States. With Smirkus, I go all over New England. I've been as far away as Cuba, running shows for the National Cuban Circus. Like, I get out and I do my work. But I am passionate about this state. I grew up in Bellows Falls, Vermont. I live in Rockingham, Vermont, just 4 miles away from my childhood home. I have a wife that's from Westminster, Vermont. We are Vermonters. I love the fact that I can do something that's very bizarre in the state that I want to live in. And whereas it may be easier to gain the respect as an artist if I were in Manhattan, where the arts are revered, I also wouldn't be so unique. I am the only one in the state of Vermont that I know of that does what I do. And to the best of my ability, I do it better than anyone could do that comes after me, is my hope. Okay? It's not a competition, but it's my pride in presenting a type of programming that will inspire young and old alike.
Cool thing that happened to me today was I was watching your work, and you set up a TV set and you had the kids sit in front of it, and you were showing them circus acts. And then I was thinking, okay, it's kind of to amuse them, but it wasn't to amuse them, it was to do this.
It was to educate them. I find in Vermont and New England, there are not a lot of shows that come by, and kids don't have exposure to circus. So when I say circus, I think of everything that I know. And when I say circus to a kid, they may think of the one storybook that they were read as a kid. That may be their entire thing, or they may have no exposure to circus and have no idea what I'm talking about.
When I think of the circus, your whole thing that you're trying to do, which is still move around the country putting on shows, is that going to die, Troy?
Well, it's kind of fascinating because bringing these attractions under a tent is what saved the circus in America originally. Because now you didn't need to own this building and pay the rent on this building and the taxes on this building. You could have your own city that traveled around, and that's what saved the circus. But it's almost gone full circle now, where that is, it's extremely expensive to try and take your own city from state to state, to try and set up and tear down your world every 2 days, which is what we do with Circus Merce as an example. And I can't say that I have wonderfully optimistic hopes that there'll be many more of these in the next 10 years. I think it's going to keep dwindling, unfortunately. I am incredibly grateful that my children got a chance to grow up and experience the circus as I knew it, because they can then pass those stories down to their kids. And boy, they have some rich stories. I think it will be harder for that generation to fully understand what the traveling circus really felt like, what it meant to the communities they traveled to. And the circus is real, and that's what we don't always get in today's society. There's a lot of screens and a lot of pixels throwing images at us. The circus is a living, breathing, real thing. And I think, you know, what I'm proudest about is raising 2 daughters in an environment where they realize you don't have to have biased. You don't have to feel as though this white skin, this dark skin, this nationality or religion, this age, this gender has any power over another, or any beliefs that are better than any other. Like, the circus works because everyone works together, and it really is. In my experience, and I'm not terribly old, I'm only 45, but in my 45 years, I've never experienced life that worked better than the life in the circus. People work together, they work hard together, they celebrate together, they're there to support each other, and they're there to celebrate each other. And I think if the world even worked slightly like the actual circus works, this world would be a significantly better place.
Troy, thanks for being here today. We appreciate it.
You bet. So happy.
Presenting Otto and Freddie for the funniest prize fight in circus history. And now, Clyde Beatty, the most fearless man in all the world.